Good day, everyone. I'm Crystal Rose Ledesma, and today we are going to discuss about the playing actions, particularly the states of play. So I hope you would lend your ears for you to be able to understand some of the important concepts about volleyball. So let's start. The ball in play. The ball is in play from the moment of the hit of the service authorized by the first referee. So the one nga authorized nga mo signal if ready to serve na ang bola is the first referee. So once the ball is served, so the ball is considered in play. Ball out of play. The ball is out of play at the moment of the fault which is whistled by one of the referees. So consider daw nga out of play ang bola is if the other team committed a fault. So may whistle ang referee. But in the absence of a fault, kung walay fault nga nahitabo, the ball is out of play at the moment of the whistle. Ball in. The ball is in when it touches the floor of the playing court, including the boundary lines. So if the team A, for instance, passes the ball on the opponent's side on team B, and the ball was not able to hit by team B, so ni-drop siya sa floor, but inside the boundary lines or the playing area, so considered nga in ang bola and score to sa team A. So what if ang mahitabo is ang bola touches the boundary lines? So considered gihapon siya nga in, kay appeal man siya sa considerations of nga makonsider if in ba ang bola. Ball out. The ball is out when the part of the ball which contacts the floor is completely outside the boundary lines. So kintahay ang bola passes to the other side and wala gihapon siya na-hit sa pikas nga team and the ball dropped on outside of the boundary lines or outside the playing area. So considered nga out ang bola. Number 2, it touches an object outside the court. The calling or person out of play. So, ang bola, pwede paghihapon siya ma-retrieve outside the free zone. But, if it already touches an object outside the court, pwede naitaw nga na igo or ang referee baron, so considered na nga out ang bola. Number 3, it touches the antennae, ropes, post, or the net itself outside of the side bands. So, if ang bola mahit niya ang antena, tungod ang bola, dili niya pwede maiko ang antena, ang daha ka antena, ang ropes, post, or the net outside the side bands. So, if any of these hit by the ball, so considered na nga out ang bola. Next. Number 4, it crosses the vertical plane of the net either partially or totally outside the crossing space, except in the case of Rule 2 in ball crossing the net. Number 5, it crosses completely the lower space under the net. So, considered nga out ang bola if muagi siya in the lower space or ilalim sa net. Next is playing the ball. Each team must play within its own playing area and space, except Rule 2 in ball crossing the net. So, kada team dapat nakarangyod na sila sa playing area. But the ball may, however, be retrieved from beyond the free zone. So what I've said earlier, pwede pa ma-retrieve ang bola outside the free zone as long as it doesn't touches any object or person. Team hits. The team is entitled to a maximum of 3 hits in addition to blocking, Rule 1 in block and team hits for returning the ball. So every team, gitagaan na sila maximum of 3 hits. Aron, dili na siya mo lapas og 4. And, og mulapas na siya 3 hits, the team already commits the fault of 4 hits. And we call the first hit as the pass. So, tungod sa fast speed of the ball, the player has to absorb the momentum of the ball. So, iyang passes sa iyang kauban ra pud nga player. And the second hit is the set. So, they use their fingers to pass the ball, preparing for the third hit. So, the third hit is the attack or spike. So, in that case, in this moment, ang player, iyang goal is to pass the ball to the opponent's side. So, they use their palm or their shoulders and they jump for in preparation for attack. Consecutive contacts. A player may not hit the ball 2 times consecutively. So, the same player, dili siya pwedeng nga mo hit sa bola 2 times consecutive or twice. If that happens, nanay fault nga nahitabo. Simultaneous contacts. So, when we say simultaneous, meaning dungan. 2 or 3 players may touch the ball at the same moment. So, pwede daw nga 2 or 3 players mo touch sa ball nga magdungan sila. But, when 2 or 3 teammates touch the ball simultaneously, it is counted as 2 or 3 hits. So, if tulo ka players nga nagdungan og hit sa bola, it is counted as 2 or 3 depending on the number of players. So, remember nga, each team is only entitled to a maximum of 3 hits. If they reach for the ball but only one of them touches it, if dungan sila nga na-reach sa ball but isa lang may naka-hits sa ball, then 1 hit ra mooy counted. A collision of players does not constitute a fault. When 2 opponents touch the ball simultaneously over the net and the ball remains in play, the team receiving the ball is entitled to another 3 hits. So, if ang bola is successfully nga na-pass on the other side, so the other team receiving the ball is entitled na po sila to another 3 hits. But if such a ball goes out, then ang point goes to the opposite side. And lastly, if simultaneous contacts by 2 opponents lead to a catch, it is a double fault and the rally is replayed. So, catch or thrown is a fault in volleyball. So, if dungan ang player nga ni lead to a catch or longer contact with the ball, so it is also considered as double fault.
Good day everyone. Today I will be discussing the topic assigned to me, which is the ball at the net in volleyball. So for this slide is about the ball at the net, and it contains information about the ball crossing the net, ball touching the net, assisted hit, characteristics of the hit, exceptions, and faults in playing the ball. Let me discuss each of these topics in detail. Firstly, let's talk about the ball crossing the net. The ball sent to the opponent's court must go over the net within the crossing space. The crossing space is the part of the vertical plane of the net limited by the top of the net, the antennae, and their imaginary extension, and the ceiling. If the ball has crossed the net plane to the opponent's free zone totally or partly through the external space, it may be played back within the team hits, provided that the opponent's court is not touched by the player and the ball, when played back, crosses the net plane again totally or partly through the external space on the same side of the court. The opponent team may not prevent such action. Secondly, let's discuss the ball touching the net. While crossing the net, the ball may touch it. If a ball is driven into the net, it may be recovered within the limits of the 3 team hits. However, if the ball rips the mesh of the net or tears it down, the rally is cancelled and replayed. Thirdly, let's talk about the assisted hit. Within the playing area, a player is not permitted to take support from a teammate or any structured object to reach the ball. However, a player who is about to commit a fault, such as touching the net or crossing the center line, may be stopped or held back by a teammate. Fourthly, let's discuss the characteristics of the hit. The ball may touch any part of the body, but it must be hit, not caught or thrown. It can rebound in any direction, and it may touch various parts of the body provided that the contact takes place simultaneously. Fifthly, let's talk about the exceptions. At blocking, consecutive contacts may be one or more blockers provided that the contacts occur during one action. At the first hit of the team, the ball may contact various parts of the body consecutively provided that the contacts occur during one action. Lastly, let's discuss the faults in playing the ball. A team hits the ball 4 times before returning it, it is considered a fault. If a player takes support from a teammate or any structured object to reach the ball within the playing area, it is also considered a fault. If a player does not hit the ball and the ball is caught or thrown, it is a catch fault. If a player hits the ball twice in succession or the ball contacts various parts of his or her body in succession, it is a double contact fault. In conclusion, the ball of the net is an essential aspect of volleyball. It is important to understand the rules and regulations surrounding the ball at the net to play the game correctly. And I think that's all for the ball at the net.
Now, let's move forward to players at the net. Before I start, I would like to ask you a question. Who are the players at the net? In volleyball, the players at the net is commonly referred to as a blocker or a front row player. The front row players are typically the 3 players positioned at the front of the court. Let's move on to reaching beyond the net. In blocking, the blocker may touch the ball beyond the net, provided that he or she does not interfere with the opponent's play before or during the latter's attack hit. For example, si player A ni-jump to do a spike, pero ang middle blocker sa opposing team niluksosad to block the ball from entering their side of the court. Sa pag-block ni middle blocker, iyang gi-reach beyond the net iyang kamot. Pero wala niya gi-hinder ang attack ni player A. His only goal was to kill, to completely stop the opponent's attack. So, asa ra niya pwede i-touch ang ball beyond the net kung nakahit na si player A. But, if the middle blocker touched the ball without player A making the attack, then it is considered a violation. A player is permitted to pass his or her hand beyond the net after an attack hit, provided that the contact has been made within his or her own playing space. For example, during a volleyball match, player A executes a powerful spike towards the opponent's court. Pero ang middle blocker sa opposing team attempts to block the ball, causing the ball to fall dool sa net nilang player A. Tungod kay naay great reflexes si player A, iyang gi-extend iyang kamot beyond the net to properly pass or set the ball sa iyang kauban to make the attack. Pero dapat ang contact sa bola mahitabo sa sud sa playing space or court nilang player A. Next is penetration under the net. It is permitted to penetrate into the opponent's space under the net, provided that this does not interfere with the opponent's play. Diba sa volleyball, expected man nga ang players, di pwede mo cross sa court sa kontra and dapat lang yun nga mo stay sila sa ilang court. Pero naamang yun circumstances nga ang player may need to cross or enter the opponent's court to retrieve the ball or make a defensive play. And it's okay, as long as wala sila nakadisrupt sa play sa ilang kontra. Halimbawa, ang isa sa player sa Team A ni spike og kusog nga as in feeling nimo matangtang na ag kamot sa mo block. Pero na-block sa player in Team B. The ball deflects off from the blocker's hands nya ang bola nagsugod og kahagbong dool sa net and sa Team B nga side. So karon, ang player from Team A dives under the net and retrieve the ball sa wa pa ang bola niland sa ground. Unya, napasa niya ang bola sa iyang teammate, allowing them to continue the rally. Pero, gisaalang-alang pod sa player sa Team A nga ala siya nakasagabal sa duwa sa pikas nga team. Penetration into the opponent's court beyond the center line. To touch the opponent's court with a foot or feet or hand is permitted provided that some part of the penetrating foot or feet or hand remains either in contact with or directly above the center line. To contact the opponent's court with any other part of the body is forbidden. In volleyball, the center line divides the court into two equal halves, with each side belonging to a different team. Sa ako nang ikaingon ganiha, the players should remain in their own territory. Pero naagyud mga sitwasyon nga di kalikayan nga need yun mo penetrate ang player sa pikas nga side. For example, in a game between Team A and Team B, ang isa sa player in Team A dives to save a ball that is about to touch the ground sa Team B nga side sa court. Sa pag-extend sa player sa iyang kamot to save the ball, ang ubang part sa iyang kamot ni land or ni touch sa pikas nga side sa court, pero naa gihapoy contact or naa ibabaw sa center line. This play is permissible kay naa man gihapoy connection between sa ila nga side sa court bisan pag ni touch ang player sa court sa kontra. However, the rule prohibits players from contacting the opponent's court with any other part of their body. Nga naman, para ang players di mo cross completely sa court and aron di makasamok sa duwa sa opposing team. A player may enter the opponent's court after the ball goes out of play. Once the ball has been declared out of play, it means that the point of the rally has ended. Ang mga players from both teams can cross over the opponent's court without penalties or restrictions. Tungod kay out of play naman ang bola. Players may penetrate into the opponent's free zone provided that they do not interfere with the opponent's play. For example, gireceive ni player A ang serve sa pikas grupo, pero ang core sa bola is padung sa free zone sa kontra. Ang kauban ni player A moves into the free zone to retrieve the ball, allowing to continue the rally without disrupting the opponent's play. Let's proceed to contact with the net. In volleyball, players can touch the net or antenna without penalty, except when it happens during the action of playing the ball or interferes with the play. This includes actions where players don't actually touch the ball. If contact with the net or antenna occurs during active play and affects the game, it is considered a fault. The rule promotes fair play and prevents unfair advantages. For example, a player from Team A jumps to block the attack from Team B and accidentally brushes his or her hand against the net. Pero ang contact between sa player o sa net wa nakadisrupt sa attack hit or duwa sa kontra. In this case, the contact with the net is not a fault kay wala man nakadagtigaw or samok sa opposing team. On the other hand, if during the same play, natandog sa player ang net, yani shake, and the shaking of the net, nakadag destruction or nakadag disrupt sa pikas grupo, then it's a fault. kay nakaapekto man sa duwa sa opposing team, making it disadvantageous to their part. After hitting the ball in volleyball, players can touch the post, rope, or other objects outside the net, as long as it doesn't interfere with the play. So, it's okay nga mugunit sa post, rope, or other objects outside the net. Ighuman ni mo og hit sa bola to gain balance as long as ala ka naka-interfere sa duwa. When the ball hits the net and touches an opponent, it is not considered a fault in volleyball. It's because incidental contact with the net during a play is allowed, and also because the net is a normal part of the playing environment. However, if the player intentionally or deliberately uses the net to obstruct the opponent, it would be considered as a fault or a violation. Without further ado, let's focus on the player's fault at the net. A player touches the ball or an opponent's space before or during the opponent's attack hit. Sa ako nang ikaingon kaniha, if the blocker touches the ball without the attacker making the attack, then it's a violation. A player penetrates into the opponent's space under the net, interfering with the latter's play. Sa example na to ganiha, if the player from Team A dives under the net to retrieve the ball and the player's hand accidentally causes the opposing team's player to fall down, then it's a fault because it disrupts the opposing team's play. A player penetrates into the opponent's court. Lastly, a player touches the net or the antenna during his or her action of playing the ball or interferes with the play. Example, sa pag-block ni player A sa spiker sa Team B, iyang nasagi ang net nga nakadisrupt sa duwa sa opposing team. Then it's a violation or a fault. That would be all about the players at the net.
Okay, so now let's talk about service. Service in volleyball is one of the basic technique. And now let's define what is service. The service is the act of putting the ball into play by the back right player placed in the service zone. So, for example, if I am the player, so I should be in the service zone in serving the ball, not in the court or outside the service zone. So there are also different types of serve. The three main types of serve is the underhand, floaters, top spin, and the jump serve. So if we are a beginner, so we usually do the underhand serve. But in competitive volleyball games, mostly like NCAA or mga big tournaments, they usually do the jump serve, top spin, and floaters. Okay, so first service in a set. The first service of the first set, as well as that of the deciding set, the fifth, is executed by the team determined by the toss. So the team that win the toss will be the first team to serve. O no, so if nidaog ka sa toss, so which means kamo ang mauna nga mo serve. And the next is the other sets will be started with the service of the team that did not serve first in the previous set. So agatong team nga wala ka serve, sila ang mo serve in the other sets. So mara to. Let's move on to the service order. The player must follow the service order recorded on the lineup sheet. So, as a player, no, you should follow the lineup sheet or the service order to avoid faults or a call from the referee. So, after the first service in a set, the player to serve is determined as follows. When the serving team wins the rally, the player or his or her substitute who serves before serves again. So if you are the one serving the ball and you win, so it means mo balik ka og serve. But also if nadaog na nimo ang nasud na nimo ang serve, and then pagbalik nimo you take too much time, no? Usually it only duration of 8 seconds, no, in serving. But if mulapas ka, the referee can call out side out. So it means pwede ang point ato sa pikas and also ang service. Just an additional info. So next, when the receiving team wins the rally, it gains the right to serve and rotates before actually serving. The player who moves from the front right position, from the back right position, will serve. So it means when the receiving team wins the rally, before sila mo serve, they should rotate before actually serving, because that is the rule. So if dili sila mo rotate, na ay tawag ana nga fault. So agatong right back player mo to ang front right back player mo to ang mo serve. Next is the authorization of the service. The first referee authorized the service after having checked that the two teams are ready to play and that the serve is in position of the ball. So if the referee check that the two teams are ready, as well as the server or katong naghawid sa bola, and then in that time he or she will whistle to start the game or the match. Next is the execution of the service. The ball shall be hit with one hand or any part of the arm after being tossed or released from the hands. So it should be on one hand nga imong i-gamiton inig toss, no? Not duha. So if gi-toss nimo ang bola sa left hand, so it means that the ball shall be hit with your right hand, no? If tuohon ka, not two hands, no? Both hands, dili niya pwede nga inig toss nimo sa left hand, then both hands will be hit, no? O mo serve or mo hit sa bola. That's not allowed. So only one toss of the ball is allowed. Dribbling or moving the ball in the hands is permitted. So only one toss of the ball is allowed, no? Dili pwede magbalik-balik ka og toss. So dribbling or moving also of the ball in the hands is permitted, no? It is okay, no, to move the ball in the hands. So the next is faults made after the service and the positional faults. So if the server makes a fault at the moment of the service, hit or improper execution, wrong rotational order, etc., and the opponent out position, it is the serving fault which penalize. So agatong serving faults mo'y ma-penalize. So if buwan nimo matarong og execute ang pag-serve and also the wrong rotational order, no, it is the serving faults mo'y ma-penalize or matawag. Instead, if the execution of the service has been correct but the service subsequently becomes faulty, goes out, goes over the screen, etc., the positional fault has taken place first and is penalized. So if even matarong, no, pag-execute nimo ang pag-serve, but ang service is ni out or nilapas, no, na wakasod or ni tipas sa laing landas, then the call is on the positional fault. So the positional fault has taken place first and is penalized. So to sum up, so service is one of the crucial also in volleyball. That's all. Thank you.
And now, we are going to talk about attack hit. In volleyball, attack hits are essential for scoring points in a match. So what are considered as an attack hit? First is, All actions that will direct the ball to the opponent, except the service and the block, are considered as attack hits. Second, during an attack hit, tipping is permitted only if the ball is cleanly hit and not caught or thrown. Tipping is kanang hinayon ra nimo kapak ang bola or igo ra nimo itud ang bola to cross over the net. Third, an attack hit is completed the moment the ball completely crosses the vertical plane of the net or is touched by an opponent. So if ang bola is naana sa opponent's court and na-touch na sa blockers, it means completed na ang attack, din ang opposing team nang bahala ma-receive or mo-dig sa attack. So let's move on to the restrictions of the attack hit. First, a front row player may complete an attack hit at any height, provided that the contact with the ball has been made with the player's own playing space. So as you can see in the picture, kanang tulo ka players nga gilinginan mo na sila ang mga front row players, and they are typically specialized in attacking the ball. So according to the rule, front row player can attack at any height. This means that they can jump and hit the ball as high as they want, as long as di sila mo touch sa net or mo lapas sa front zone. Second is, a back row player may complete an attack hit at any height from the behind of the front zone. If his or her takeoff, the player's foot or feet must either have touched nor cross over the attack line, and after the attack, the player may land within the front zone. So as you can see in the picture, kanang tulo ka players nga gilinginan mo na sila ag mga back row players, and they are typically specialized in defensive plays and passing the ball to the front zone. But pwede sila mo attack as long as during pag-take off or paglukso sa back row player, wala mo touch or wala niya matumbi ang boundary line between front zone and back zone. Then after the attack, the player is allowed to land within the front zone.
Once again from the back row. Alam mo po, yan din nawala na yan eh. First set, ang dami yan eh.
As with any form of hitting in volleyball, various faults can be committed during an attack, which players must be aware in order to avoid penalties. The first one to be considered as illegal is a player hits the ball within the playing space of the opposing team. This means that pag-attempt sa player attack, iyang natumban ang center line. This is illegal because the players are not allowed to cross the center line during the match. Second, it is considered as fault when the player hits the ball out. And third, a back row player completes an attack hit from the front zone if at the moment of the hit, the ball is entirely above the top of the net. Ni-attack ang back row player sa front zone, which is a fault kay back row player man siya, so dapat adto ra siya mo attack sa back zone. And lastly, a player completes an attack hit on opponent's service when the ball is in the front zone and entirely above the top of the net. So dapat dili sa diretso og attack ang bola after ni serve ang opposing team. Dapat katulo sa matouch ang bola. So in conclusion, if a player commits an attack fault, a point is given to the opposing team who will also be allowed to serve the ball next.
And next, I'll be discussing an essential aspect of volleyball known as blocking, ang pinaka-crucial nga technique or defensive strategy for teams to effectively counter their opponent's attacks. So, what is blocking? Blocking is the action of players close to the net to intercept the ball coming from the opponent by reaching higher than the top of the net. Block attempts is the action of looking without touching the ball, and only from row players are completed a block. Mao ni siyang first line of defense nga nag-requires bitaw sa usa to tulo ka players to reach higher than the net with their hands and arms to effectively intercept the ball para ma-block or masagang nila ang bola sa ilang kontra. Mostly, mahitabo ang blocking ug ang opponent mag-attempt og attack hit nga spike. Diha jud magamit mostly ang blocking sa pagsagang sa spike sa opponent. Now let's proceed to the collective block. A collective block is executed by 2 or 3 players close to each other and is completed when one of them touches the ball. Actually, for the information of everybody, there are 2 types of block. Aside sa collective block, naasay individual block. Ang individual block is from the word nga individual, it performed by a single player, aiming to reach higher than the net to stop the ball. While ang collective block nag-involve siya coordination between 2 or 3 players, creating a formidable barrier. Kini siya nga block, mas successful ni siya kung usa sa mga players na ay makatouch sa bola. Next is block contact. Consecutive or quick and continuous contacts may occur by one or more blockers provided that the contacts are made during one action. So that means that blockers can make multiple quick contacts with the ball as long as they occur in one continuous action. And these contacts are crucial for controlling the ball's trajectory and speed. Next is block within the opponent's space. In blocking, the player may place his or her hands and arms beyond the net provided that this action does not interfere with the opponent's play. Thus, it is not permitted to the ball beyond the net until the opponent has executed an attack hit. That means that the players or the blockers are allowed to reach over the net during a block as long as they do not interfere with the opponent's play. Dili nimo sagnon ang bola sa kontra if wala pa niabot ang bola sa net. Kaya it's illegal to touch the ball over the net before the opponent's attack hit. So if ang opponent hilig og kawat-kawat nga technique, kinahanglan kang abtik kay night time nga gentle ra ang pag-attack and usahay makuwangan og kusog tungod anang pailad-ilad nga technique, like for example nag-attempt og kusog nga pag-attack ang player sa kontra pero hinay ra di ay para malihat ang mo defense. Unya kung ikaw ang mo defense, iladon pud halahala ra pud kag block miski wa pa miabot sa net ang bola sa kontra, then that's a fault. Ang score maila sa kontra or the opposing team. Next is block and team hits. First is, a block contact is not counted as a team hit. So, ang block contact, dili pa na siya team hit. Consequently, after a block contact, a team is entitled to 3 hits to return the ball. Second is, the first hit after the block may be executed by any player, including the one who has touched the ball during the block. Blocking service. To block opponent service is forbidden. So, bawal nimo i-block ang serve sa kontra, kinahanglan jud na nga i-receive by any players or the libero. Kay wala nay trailing ug ilitso i-block ang serve. Next is blocking faults. Diri na ta sa faults. First is, the blocker touches the ball is the opponent's space either before or simultaneously with the one opponent's attack hit. Kanang mo block na ka or nakahilam na kas bula nga wa pa gani kahuman og attack hit ang opponent ug katong ahong giingon ganiha kanang ni attack hit na ang kontra pero wala kaabot sa net, hapit ra pero imong nahilaman kay imong gi-block kay nailad ka kay kaingon kag makaabot sa net, matawag na to siya blocking fault. Second is back row player or a libero completes a block or participants in a completed block. Kanang muapil ang back row player or ang usa ka libero sa pag-block diha, false na siya kay di na pwede ang libero mo ay mo block. Third is blocking the opponent's service. Kanang pag-block sa serve sa kontra or sa opponent. Ayaw jud na buhata. Fourth is the ball is sent out of the block. Kanang imong gi-block pero pag-block nimo ang bola na away. Fifth, blocking the ball in the opponent's space from outside the antenna. Kanang pag-block sa bola sa opponent nga gikan sa gawas sa antena. 6 is a libero attempts an individual or collective block. Kanang mag-attempt og block ang libero as what I have said kaganiha. Moto siya, mga fault to sila katong unom. Blocking is a vital part of volleyball defense. It requires timing, athleticism, and teamwork. By mastering this skill, teams can significantly improve their defensive capabilities and control the flow of the game. And that's all for today. Thank you for your attention, and I hope that our video report has enhanced your understanding of the playing actions of volleyball. May God bless us all. Thank you.